Hey everyone, it's Carly Hall and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are taking a look at the Cricut mug press. So this is a new press that was just released by Cricut and it retails for $1.99. You can use this press with sublimation mug blanks and Cricut mug blanks with infusible ink or sublimation ink. So I picked up some Cricut mugs. We're going to try these today. And then in future videos, I will test different sublimation options and different sublimation inks. So we will be using the Cricut blanks with infusible ink. So to give a little rundown of what we'll be doing today, we'll set this up, we'll go through the setup process, and then we'll design a project and cut it. So quick overview, if you are new to infusible ink is an ink that really penetrates the surface of sublimation blanks, and it is completely seamless, permanent, microwave, dishwasher safe. So it's a really cool product and you'll get similar results as you would with sublimation. So I'll talk more about that as we go through the video, but let's get started and set this machine up. In the box, you'll find your mug press, a power cord, which is not connected yet, but I'll show you a little bit later on. You have this micro USB cord and then a booklet that has a let's get started. And we're going to navigate to cricut.com/setup. And then inside it looks like it just has some information about your mug press. So we have our indicator lights, the progress lights, a power button with different colors to represent different things, connect mode, warming up, ready to use. This lever is what's going to control the pressure. And then we'll need a easy press mat, which I have here. The easy press mat does not come with the machine, but I do recommend purchasing one or using a kitchen trivet so that you have something to put your hot mug on, because I did put a mug onto a self-healing mat and it completely warped my mat. So I recommend some type of heat surface. All right, we're going to get started at cricut.com/setup. So I navigated to that website and it redirected me to the landing page for Design Space. So I already have Design Space downloaded, but if you do not have Design Space downloaded to your computer, you will need to download that. So you need an active internet connection as well as a computer to set up your mug press. So make sure that you have those two things. You cannot set this up with a mobile device. So you will need a laptop or computer so that you can plug it in. We're going to click open. And then we're going to open Design Space. We're taken to this page where we can see Welcome to Cricut Setup. We're setting up a heat press, the Cricut mug press, and then I already have a Cricut ID. If you do not have a Cricut ID, you'll have to set one up, but I am just going to sign into mine. We'll walk through this setup flow. So we're going to prepare the workspace. If you've worked with sublimation or infusible ink in the past, there is kind of an off-gas smell, especially when you first use a new press. So I recommend working with a window nearby. It's really important that you have a well-ventilated craft space. So we'll continue on. We're going to plug our outlet into the wall in the back of our machine. So let me show you that. So here's a look at the back of the plug. I already have this plugged into a power source. And then on the back of the mug press, you'll just match it up. Kind of looks like a little Mickey head. So I'll plug that in and then plug that into a wall. So I have my lever open and we'll power on the machine and continue on. Now we're going to use the USB cord to connect it to this computer. So you do need a computer like I mentioned, and I'm using a MacBook, so I don't have a USB port. So I'll show you the adapter that I'm using and I'll put a link in the video description as well. This adapter has USB ports in it, so I'm going to plug my USB into that side, and then on the other side, my mug press, I'm going to plug that into the back of the mug press. We heard a beep. We'll continue on, and now we're going to activate the mug press. So we're adding the mug press to my account. If that's not your account, make sure to log into the correct account, accept the terms and services, and then we'll activate it. Now it's just looking to see if there is a firmware update that I need to run, and it looks like it'll just download that automatically and update it. Okay, so it's all done. That was really easy. We can disconnect the USB cord. We'll unplug that and get started. If you didn't know, I used to work at Cricut on their education team, so this kind of stuff is really important to me. So I would definitely recommend going through the different videos to familiarize yourself with the mug press. This video is showing you how to activate, which we just went through, and then it looks like there are some instructions on how to use it. Okay, everything we need. I will go over all of this stuff in today's tutorial. But again, take your time, go through these videos. It's always helpful to watch several different tutorials before you try it out on your own. And then there's even some how-to tutorials down here. All right, great. Let's get started. In Design Space, let's get started by looking at where you can find project inspiration or start designing your mug project. So on the very left-hand side, I'm on the Projects tab, so go ahead and click that. If you're on the canvas, you can click it and it will take you to the projects. Up at the top, you'll navigate to infusible ink, so you can scroll down to the eyes and then search for mug. All of these mug projects come up, but I want you to find the mug design setup option and the drawn mug design setup option right here. These two are really cool templates that you can use to create your own designs. We'll be using this today, and I'll show you how it works just a little bit later on. If you want to use a project that already exists, you can choose any of these. Click on the project, and you'll want to just pay attention to see what the finished size is for. So this one is for a 12-ounce mug, which we'll be using today. But it's just important to note, if you have a 15-ounce mug, to find a template that works for that. For the mug templates, these are really cool because you can scroll down and you can actually choose the finished size that you want. So let me show you the mugs that Cricut launched with. Here are the mugs that Cricut launched with. There are 15-ounce mugs, and there's a 15-ounce gray handle, gray inside cup, and then 12-ounce mugs. You want to know that the 15-ounce mugs are the large mugs. So both of these are large, and then the 12-ounce are the small. It doesn't actually say anywhere on here that this is the small or large mug, so it's just important to remember that 15-ounce is the large and 12 is the small. For today's project, I'm using a small 12-ounce mug, so we can choose which one we want. And when you drop down, you can see all of these options. So we'll pay attention to the small, but there is also an option for the large mugs as well. And if you click on the straight edge, for example, you can see that the edge of my design is straight. If you come down to the ripped, it'll give you a preview for the ripped. And we'll just take a look at all of the different edges just so you can get a visual of what they look like. So really cool interface here where you can choose the edge that you want and the size. For today, I'm going to choose the scallop. So once you're happy with the design and the size, we can click Customize. If you want to check out what else is on here, there's the materials that you cut, everything else. There's instructions. So if you're new and you're overwhelmed, take a look at all of these because it's really cool. I am an Access subscriber, so this is included in my subscription. If you're not an Access subscriber, you may be charged to use this, so definitely check it out. You can do a trial to Access or pay monthly to see if it's something that interests you, but it's definitely worth the monthly subscription in my opinion. All right, so we're going to click Customize. And this is so cool. So you have this template here, which I'll show you a little bit later on when we cut it, but it will allow us to stick our infusible ink transfer sheet to the mug because they'll have these sticky tabs to hold it into place. And then this pen layer here will show us where the center of each side of the mug is, as well with the center of the actual mug. So if you're designing from scratch, this template is so great. Now, say this is still overwhelming and you don't want to design from scratch, and you just want to use an image that already exists, you can also do that. So we'll come back to this in just a second. But if you want a complete image, click on the Image tab. In the upper left, choose All Images. Under highlighted categories right here, you'll want to choose Image Sets. and then search in images for mug. Cricut did all of the hard work for us. There are so many mug designs that they've launched with. So you can see this image set here has 96 images, and if you click into that, you can see that all of these images are available in 2 sizes. So we'll click on the info icon since I can see these 2 images are the same. And if we click the info, you can see there's one for small and there's one for large. So again, this would be for the 15-ounce mug and this would be for the 12-ounce mug, which is just important to note to choose the correct size that you're working with. So you can choose one of these ready-to-make images and drop it right onto your canvas. It will come in the correct size and you can just cut it. Again, just pay attention to the small and the large. There's drawn images, there's cut images, and they're all so cute. So take a minute and look through those. Again, these are all included in Access. So if you're not an Access subscriber, you will have to pay for these designs. But if you are planning on selling your final projects, take a look at the Angel policy on Cricut's website. I'll put a link in the video description, but you can sell all of your finished products under the Angel policy. So if you are an Etsy shop owner or a small business owner and you want to do this as a business, the subscription for Access is totally worth it because you have limited commercial rights with these images. So again, if you've never heard about the Angel policy, take a look at that if you're a small business owner. I'll put a link in the video description. Okay, so that was a lot of information, but now we are going to jump back into designing. So I have my image and this blue design here, I'm going to be cutting pink infusible ink, so we will change the color. The color on my canvas is just a representation for me to know what my design will look like. It's not changing the color of my infusible ink, it just represents the material that I will be using. So I change that to pink, and then I'm going to add some text on both sides of my mug. So I want this to say, I craft past my bedtime. I think we probably all craft past our bedtime. And then we can play around with the different fonts. So for my design, I want something blocky because I want it to cut out of my infusible ink sheet and reveal the white mug behind it. So there's a font I have in mind. It's a system font. So I'm going to search for CLN. And it's a chunky font. CLN Chunky Taffy 2. I'm going to adjust this. And then you can play around with the letter spacing. This is where it gets fun. You can really customize it to look however you want. So I like my letters pretty tight. My line spacing, I can adjust. And I have other tutorials on working with fonts. So I'll go through this kind of quickly and we'll just adjust this to make it look how I want it to look. Once you're happy with your design, we are going to add it to our mug. So there is a little cross hatch right in the center of our design. So I line that up with the center mark on that mug, and then I'm going to just drop it down. So trying to keep it as straight. You used to be able to hold down the shift key, but not anymore. So I'll just line this up and then use my arrows on my keyboard. That'll probably be easier to keep it nice and straight. So I'll just roughly align that there. I'm going to make a copy or duplicate it and add it to the other side. Again, lining up the center mark with that center line and then using my keyboard arrow to drop it down into place. So now I know those are lined up with the sides correctly. I also want to make sure it's lined up in the center of my mug. So I don't need these guides anymore. And it says hide this layer before cutting. So I'm going to click on the eyeball here and hide that layer. Then I'm going to select everything by dragging my cursor over all of my image. And using the align tools, I'm going to align center vertically so that everything shifts to the center. It did not do that though, so let me try again. Let's highlight everything, align, center vertically. There we go. So you can see that those just shifted up a little bit. Now, when I was playing around with this last night, what you should be able to do is click attach and everything should attach. It does work, but there's some type of glitch going on in Design Space right now because when I click make it, you can see that it does what I want it to do, but it doesn't show on my canvas. So theoretically, this will work just fine, selecting all and attaching. But if you want a real preview of what it's going to look like, let's undo that. And I'm going to show you how to get a real preview, but this is just a couple of extra steps. So absolutely you can just select all and attach and it will work. We are going to select my text layer, and I've welded all of my text together so you can see it's all on one layer. So weld your text, and then I'm going to click on the pink layer here. So I'm going to hold down the shift key and click that. So I have both my weld layer and my pink layer selected, and then choose slice. Now I can delete out the black layer, delete that, and delete out the pink text layer. So this layer here, I'm just going to click on the layer and then click delete. And now that will give a realistic representation of what my design will look like. So I have the mug, the white mug coming through. So we'll do the same thing on the other side. I'm just going to drag my text on top of this layer, then select both of the layers together and repeat the process by slicing. We'll click on the black layer and delete that, and click on the pink layer and delete that. I have a whole tutorial on slicing, but the main takeaway is that you can slice 2 layers at a time. So if you're not able to see the slice icon, it's because you have more than 2 layers selected or only 1 layer selected. So now I can see what my project will look like. I could just cut this infusible ink layer, the pink layer, but I really like this sticky tab area, so I will attach both of these together by highlighting everything and clicking attach. For whatever reason, it's still going back to that blue color. I think it has something to do with the template, so I'll report that to Cricut and see what happens. So we'll just change it back to pink so we can see our design and what it will look like. So I'm going to save this project as my crafting mug. And now we are ready to cut it. So we'll click make it. I'm using my Cricut Maker, but you can use your Explore machine or your Cricut Joy. So just make sure that you've selected the machine you're using. And always mirror your design. So you want to toggle on mirror. It will cut on the back side of it, so we want to mirror that image. Continue on, and we'll connect to our machine. Once you're connected to your machine, we're going to choose Infusible Ink Transfer Sheet. If you don't see it on your popular materials, you can choose Browse All Materials and search for Infusible. If you are on an Explore machine, you'll want to turn your smart dial to Custom and then search Infusible Ink Transfer Sheet. On the machine side, I have my Infusible Ink Transfer Sheet, and this is the first variation of the transfer sheet. So there are the grid lines and the logo, and you'll just want to put the liner side down with the ink side facing you. When you're working with infusible ink, you'll want your hands to be really dry, no lotion or any type of moisture, because you don't want your moisture on your hands to take up the ink. I did notice that the new infusible ink sheets, the ones that say ideal for mug press, they don't have any type of liner on it. A grid on their liner. Let me show you. So this liner is completely clear. So I was a little bit concerned that the liner on the back of this one would transfer, so hopefully that won't be an issue. The other thing that you should note with the infusible ink transfer sheets, this is black and it looks brown, so when it transfers, it will transfer a lot darker than what it appears on the sheet. So the color on the box is the color that it will transfer. So when you pull it out, it will look a lot lighter. So this pink will be a lot darker when we transfer it. So we'll open up our machine and we'll load this in. And once the light begins to flash, you're ready to go. For the template, this part will actually come and cut around 2 times. So theoretically, it should cut through the entire liner. which will make it really easy to weed. Now that it's done cutting, we'll unload this. When peeling off my infusible ink, I like to flip my mat over and then peel the liner away. And you can see that that did cut right through the entire thing. So now I can use this piece for another project, which is great. And then this part, I'm going to flip over and carefully peel off my mat, pressing my infusible ink into the surface so that it stays really flat. Weeding infusible ink looks a little bit different than vinyl or iron-on, so I like to kind of just crack it and bend it. So you just kind of bend your material and the letters will pop out. So I want my entire mug to be pink and then the letters to be white because they're going to show through the mug. So I'm just kind of bending this back and popping out my letters. Make sure to leave the insides of your letters. So like for example, this D, you want to leave the inside of the D so that it looks like a D. So I'll do this. And then while this is being weeded, I'm going to power on my mug press so that that is ready to go. All we do is just power this on, and then the indicator light will turn green when it's hot enough. So while that's heating up, I'll continue weeding. Flip it over, make sure I didn't miss anything. I craft past my bedtime, perfect. And then these tabs are the really cool part that I love that Cricut added. So I can just peel this away, and then this sticky part will allow me to attach it to my mug really easily. So I'll peel both of those off and we'll just set this aside and prep our mug. To prep our mug, we'll need a lint roller, and we'll just open up these mugs so we can see what's inside. So here's the mug. It's all white, and then on the bottom it does say dishwasher and microwave safe, assuming that you use infusible ink or sublimation. So to prep the blank, we're just going to lint roll to make sure there's no debris on the mug. And I see a couple of specks. I'm not sure if that's just in the mug, so I noticed a couple of them on there. And I will be testing other mug blanks in the future. I also will get my Easy Press mat ready so that I have a place to put my mug. So to line up our design, I'm going to hold the design flat against my working surface, and then I'm just going to kind of pull it so that I can see where the center is. And then once I'm happy with the alignment, I'll stick down one side. So that's why I love this tab. Let me show you from this angle. So this tab sticks onto the mug, so it holds it in place. So I'm going to put it back on the table. Oh, and there's my mug press. It's ready now. And then I'm going to use my left hand and kind of push into the mug so that it's really tight against the mug surface, and then use my other hand to push that tab in. I'm a little bit crooked on this side, so I'm going to peel this back up. And just drop this down a little bit. Push that down and pull it so I'm nice and tight. So it looks pretty even. I want to make sure it's flat on the bottom, along the edges, and along the top. It looks like it covers. I have a little bit of ink coming through at the top, so I am going to use my heat-resistant tape, and I'm going to add a just precautionary rim of tape around the edges so that I don't get any blowout on the top of my design. This is not recommended by Cricut, but I want to protect my mug press, so I'm just going to wrap tape around the entire top. That way, if any ink comes out of the top, it won't damage my press. We'll do the bottom too. Again, optional, just being a little bit cautious here. For infusible ink, we don't need any type of butcher paper or anything like that. With my sublimation test, we'll use butcher paper to protect our press, but we are ready to go. So I have my mug press, it's green. And the cool thing about this press is that you don't have to set the tension or the pressure. And you don't have to set the time or the temperature. So it works on a sensing technology, and it will detect the temperature of the mug, the room, the ambient temperature, and it will account for that. So it'll take a little bit of different times depending on the temperature of your room and all the other factors. So when you put the mug in, you place it in so it doesn't catch, and then the handle sticks out so you can hold on to that. And you'll just want to pay attention that the edges of the design are completely covered. So I'm going to hold on to the lever as I close it just to make sure that my design is completely covered. Looks like it is on that side. And I'm just going to turn it so that it's covered. And then once it's covered all the way, I'm going to press that down. And then the indicator light, or the progress light, will light up and it will tell me when it's done. So I don't have an official time on how long it will take, and it will be different for each mug, like I mentioned, since it's kind of sensing all the different temperatures. So we'll just let this heat up and work, and then once it finishes, it should beep, and then I'll pull it out. So it just beeped, and then the light is blinking, so I'm going to open up the lever. And then the handle is cool to the touch, but you don't want to touch your mug. So we'll just place this on the Easy Press mat. I do have a sheet of butcher paper on there because I have put sublimation mugs on my mat and it has left a ring of ink. But I will say that the pink definitely would have come out of the top if I didn't use the tape. So I'm glad I did the tape. We'll have to see if it affected the transfer. But I definitely think that that was worthwhile to add the little bit of extra tape. So we'll let this cool off for about 10 minutes and then I will come back and reveal the design. All right, so it's been a few minutes and we'll see if it's cool enough to touch. Still pretty hot. Probably should wait a full 10 minutes to be honest, but I'm going to see if we can peel this off. I'm going to remove all the tape on the top and the bottom first. I let my mug cool for about 20 minutes and now I want to take a look at it and show you the results. So you can see that it transferred really well. The color is completely consistent all the way around the mug. There's no ghosting or blurring. The image is really crisp. And I was very impressed with how the scallops transferred. So you can see that they're really clear and even. I had one little blurry issue right here, but it's so minimal. And I think it's just because when I put my mug in the heat press, I must have not covered that bottom corner. So you just want to make sure to be aware of where your press is hitting so that it covers the entire image. The specks that I noticed earlier, I'm not seeing them on the mug at all. So those weren't an issue. There's one little tiny chip up at the top. And you can see that right here. I'm not sure if that was there before or if it happened after. But again, very, very minimal. So I'm not too concerned about it. Of course, these Cricut mugs are optimized to work with infusible ink, so I am curious to see how they will work with my sublimation printer, but I'm very hopeful for the results. They are permanent, so you can scratch it, pick it, it's not going to peel. You can put it in the microwave like the mug says, so they are dishwasher and microwave safe, and it will last and last and last. So really impressed with my first mug project. Of course, there are lots of tutorials to come because I want to compare how my mug will work with sublimation ink, so a Cricut mug with sublimation ink, and then I also want to see how sublimation blanks will work with the Cricut mug press. You can only use straight-walled mugs, so what that means is that this is a straight wall, there's no conical warp, so you are limited to 11 ounce to 15 ounce straight-walled mugs. But I'm going to play around and test some other mugs just so we can see, because I do like the fact that you can just push down on this lever and it will fit the mug that you put in there. So you're not setting a dial or a pressure gauge so that you know you're getting a good clamp on that, which I really like. I wasn't sure if I'd like the no settings because I'm not sure how it will react with my sublimation. But for infusible ink, of course, this is optimized to work with infusible ink, so the settings worked perfectly. I didn't have to guess about how long or how hot. It just kind of detects everything and knows what to do. So I really did like that. The price point is higher, so you can expect to see a comparison between my mug press and the Cricut mug press in a later video. But if there are other tutorials that you want to see, different mugs you want me to test, you are limited to Cricut infusible ink mugs or sublimation mugs. You can't use a mug from the Dollar Tree or a mug that's not coated with sublimation coating. So don't expect to put any mug in here and expect for it to work. You are limited to sublimation blanks. And I'll put some of my favorites in the video description. If you have questions or you have things you want me to test, put those in the comments and I'm happy to test those out in the future, because I feel like this is a really good product if you are a small business owner and you plan to make a lot of mugs. So you'll have to let me know what you think. And if you're going to buy one, I have the link in my video description so you can shop around and find the best price. I paid $1.99 on the day that it launched at Michael's because I had to get my hands on it and I definitely wanted to test it out. So first impressions are really positive, and I loved the mug wrap templates in Design Space. So even if you don't have the mug press, but you like designing mugs, check those out because those were really cool. Okay, I think that's everything. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop those in the comments and I will get back to you. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.